Welcome to a new test and teardown video. So this is the follow-up of the receiver here on top. So today we're going to talk about the transmitter. So this is not just a power amplifier, but a full transmitter for CV, for Morse code. So it contains everything needed to broadcast on the 80 meter band. And this one is also made by OZ7MA. And this transmitter was made in 91 to 94. So quite a lot of years of fun and excitement went into building this unit. And I think it can transmit quite a lot of power. I just don't have the power supply for this unit. So there is a big, powerful multi-connector, but all those wires here for an external power supply. And so far I don't know what is what here. So that means I can't really power this up without any documentation or without the power supply. Maybe we'll find the documentation inside, or maybe we'll find easy clues so we can actually power it up. But let's see if that is possible. So yeah, I tried to create a little bit of a setup here with headphones and Morse key and a loudspeaker and everything like that. So you can imagine how this would have been back in the 90s and making contacts with the entire world using a Morse key like this, and then just Morse coding to all your friends. That was definitely how it was. Some people still do this more or less for fun, but of course in the old days, that was the only way. So this power amplifier here is, like I said, only made for Morse code. It even contains interface for a normal Morse code like the one I just showed you, but also an LBOC. So that means it will do two different contacts for that or da, you know, two different contacts, right? And then you have a medhør. That means you can hear what you're doing. And of course this speed is only used for the LBOC. When you go in this normal key here, there's just a contact. That means this contact will activate your transmitter every time there's a contact. We got some different amplifiers here for the different circuits in this unit. It says here udgangskreds, so that is the output circuit. Mellemkreds is the medium. Exciter, that is of course the last. And then we go to power amplifier stage. And it definitely looks like this is tube based. So I expect to find some beefy, big and mean tubes inside. So you got to see me opening this thing in a few minutes. So that meter here, you can switch the meter to all the different circuits of importance, and then you can turn on and off a feedback. Glødespænding, that is the filament voltage, and antenna connector is in the front. So antenna loading and power amplifier anode. There'll probably be some capacitors in here, and you set these. It's already for the different frequencies. A manual skift, that is between RX and TX, obviously. So when you shift to RX, and then the RX antenna here is connected, of course, to your antenna. And maybe this is why the receiver is not working. Maybe there was a transmit without changing to the antenna. I don't know if you can imagine many hundreds of watts going into your receiver. I don't know if that is possible. I hope not, but... And I also expect just to open this by those 4 screws here in the corners, and then just pull out the entire front, and then everything's gonna come out, because this is more or less how old tube equipment was built in the good old days. And that is of course why we will see antenna connectors here in the front and not in the back where it's much more convenient Can you imagine having all sorts of connectors here in the front? That is not how you would prefer to have it. It's much more neat and clean to have all your connectors in the back, right? But of course, then it is much more complicated to pull out the entire unit from the case, because the case is just one big sealed box. We are now inside this fantastic transmitter and power amplifier in one unit. I'm actually a little bit impressed. Of course, this is home brew, but it is really big and juicy stuff we see here. That will be 3 parallel tubes, and the type number is RL12P35. And they are very, very famous among very old radio amateurs. They're actually from 1945, those tubes. And they deliver about 35 watts each. And that is when they were new. So that is a maximum of 100 watts output. And then there is another tube here. That will be the driver. That is a 1625. So that is the 1625 is from 1944, and it gives 35 watts as well as the driver. So there's also a drive tuned circuit, and you tune this here as well. Let's have a closer look on all that. So I rotated the power amplifier. It's without the case. The case was really, really heavy, but without the case, it's quite easy to grab this thing and move it around with only one hand. So that will be the power supply entry. Nine wires of all sorts of voltages. All the power tubes, they run off 600 volts, and I also saw a 300 volt written here on the aluminium. So I guess we got some more tubes in there as well, probably. It's really a heavy duty design, and you will see something real funny here. This is the main chassis that was a lot older than this original, than this power amplifier build. All those plates here, they're new. Or new. They're from the 90s when this one was built. But the initial case is actually a lot older. That is a reuse of something old. Look at that. There would have been a meter here. As you can see, the cutouts from the old case. You still see the holes for meters and hole for air vents and all that kind of stuff. And that is the same goes with the bottom plate here. You see all sorts of cutouts for whatever this instrument was once. And the front of this case here is really, really nicely redone and repainted with another plate on top of this front. I'll show you here in a second. See again the front. This is another plate that was added when this was cleaned up and flattened. And this plate was glued and screwed together, and then this power amplifier was built into it. And some kind of design changes were done to this area. See? There were some cutouts and some screws here to do something special here. Quite cool to see a lot of reuse of old stuff. Let's look a little bit up from the top and directly down. There's something interesting going on inside this black box, so I definitely want to look in there. We got a connector here. Yes, I would assume that would be a connector. And some sort of a cool module right here. I don't know what that is for. It seems to be very sturdy mounted. that piece of brass around that connector, that is actually made so you can grab here and pull out the connector. That's quite nice. Choke around the DC inputs. All that is great. Let me try and sit down here. I'm so sorry about shaking the camera. I'm really trying not to do that. But I really need to go around here to show you all the angles and stuff. And that, the 1625 is just a beautiful tube. You can even see the 1625 here. Let me get a little bit of light. And here we go with the P35s. That'll be the anode connection, and that is a grid, and you actually don't need that grid for this kind of mode they're running at the moment, so they are left unconnected. So at the first glance you would think, oh, this is a double, but that is not the case. This is truly a beautiful tube. You see some handwriting here on that capacitor, 17 to 217. And there, I don't actually understand the shorted windings. That will also short this magnetic field, and that is probably to lower the inductance. But it's actually better to cut away all the windings you don't need. The thing with shorted windings like this, that is normally not such a cool thing. Look at that bulb holder here. That'll be the RX-TX switch, meter switch for all the stuff. I think you're ready to see the bottom. That is just absolutely wonderful. I can really see that the good Arne spent quite a lot of years and a lot of fun building this power amplifier. And that'll be the bottom of the 3P35s. Look at those really, really nice sockets. And that's the 1625 driver tube. That's probably filament, right? And we also got a lot of really cool capacitors. Oh, did I mention about those all those tubes? They're from 1945 and 1945, right? More or less. And this power amplifier was built in 1990, was it 1? So already then, we're talking about 50 years old tubes. So that's actually, that says a little bit about using old parts and saving your money. Try to make this project using reused, recycled parts. And I think I've seen all the different parts here. They're definitely reused all the stuff that cost money that was already used before. You also see this on switches, all the solder points like this. Definitely something reused. And this one was also reused. Oh, pretty funny this. What are they doing here? Oh, that is a balloon for something, right? That is a coupling I don't understand. Well, that will be the output. And then the output goes like this and to that, and interesting. That will be the bottom of this really nice module we saw. And here is something a lot newer. What is inside this sexy milled aluminium block. What do you know? I don't know yet. I need to know what is in that one. Otherwise, I'm not going to sleep well tonight. And yeah, we got some ices. A board with ices in here. That is also a little bit of a cool mystery, but it's not such a big mystery because if you follow the wires, they go to the connector of the Morse key. So that will be a auto Morse keyer with the speed and all that kind of stuff. So this is what this is doing. It's just some counters for the different timings where you can adjust the speed for that. That is something I wouldn't have guessed. All those points are feed through DC entry and then filters for DC entry is inside this funny milled case. How cool is that? I did not see that coming. That is wonderful. Well made and really well reuse of something else. I've never seen this box before, but it's definitely beautiful. Have you ever seen this one before? That is definitely also a reuse from something else. Inside a really nice cabinet. This one, I don't see any names or numbers on it. That one is an S-stable relay. Look at that. Click, clack. So that means we got a relay with 2 coils, or you can change the direction of the coil, and then we got some magnets. Click, clack. So that is that relay. I think that is connected to the anode current or cathode current or some sort of a protection system that will kick in if something is wrong. Maybe even SVR. That is interesting to find such a cool relay in here. Wow. Nice detail. Are you ready for something funny? Now we're inside this black box. And of course this is the exciter. This means the pre-drivers for the driver that drives the power stage, right? And of course you find 2 tubes. And that, I kind of had that idea because I saw this 300 volt down there. And because none of this runs on 300, that's like 600-700. So yes, of course, we find 2 more tubes. Definitely. And this also explains the tuning of the exciters. And here we go. This connector, I just pulled this from the top. It also says exciter here on the front. And it also says exciter here. So I bet in here is actually the oscillator. And that oscillator, it says here exciter. Oh, let me turn the camera here. So this is the oscillator that is of course keyed and all that kind of stuff. And then there must be some sort of a cable between here and here. Right? And that is of course made so you can use this power amplifier for all sorts of other transmitters or all sorts of other experiments. This is a very good point. And then we go into the power stages here, right? So look a little bit on the black case here. Have you seen this before? Let me give you a little clue. If you look at the bottom here, you see a big round hole. Yes, that is a big clue. Let's look a little bit more on that. You see what that is? That is a PC power supply. The case for a PC power supply. Of course, let's reuse that one. So it's just full of reused components. I really like it. It's great and perfect at the same time. It's good for the environment. A lot of people could use this today, this good trick of reusing. If you look underneath the output tuning, look at the two holes here. It actually says V6 and V5. So yes, it was some defective old tube equipment that was reused. How nice. Trying to pull up the tubes. I only touch them at the top, but the value here is not visible anymore. I see EL something. Big beefy power pentode. And the other one here is in EF 184, I guess. So I am in the assembly process, but I can't help looking a little bit around and see all the cool details here and there. Look at that one. That's probably just to hook up your scope so you can see what's going on here in this tunable part, right? And there's also one here. So that will pick up the field here, because the anode is outside of this tube, and you'll definitely get quite a field here when this section here is doing good. So you can monitor that on this pen. Nice details. Oh, by the way, about this relay, I think I said astable, but that is of course wrong, because then it would go tick tock, tick tock. No, it's bistable. That means two stable positions. Sorry for saying a lot of bollocks, but it's getting late. So yes, I just wanted to show you the wires here from the L-block. See again? It is those colors here, right? They definitely go to the Kia circuit here. No doubt about it. I also found those. So I think there would originally be some like capacitors here or something, right? But those are missing. So that's quite interesting as well. And here is a pot. That's most likely for some drive. This is the bottom side of the pre-drivers. But anyway, if you're still here, I would say thank you a million times for watching this cool video all the way to the end. Please come again tomorrow. Have a nice day. Bye bye.